Howdy, howdy. Bret Hann here from 63 Deluxe. This is my first YouTube. So what I've decided to do is to set up a YouTube channel on my 63 Deluxe account. It'll just be mine. It'll be my own musings, and if there's anything particularly interesting, then we'll bump it through and put it onto the main 63 Deluxe site for anyone else who wants to see it. The two things that I wanted to talk about today mainly are last night's gig at the Murray Delta Juke Joint, which was the Geoff Achison with the Beinke Brothers. For those of you that don't know, Leo Beinke and I have been friends for a very long time, and we've played in a band called the Smoking Crocs for must be 20 years. He and his brother John and Rob's the bass player, John's another guitar player. They use a fella called Craig Fraser, who's anyone who's seen Darren Jack and a few other people like that play here in Adelaide have probably seen these guys. But yeah, great musos, great people, and it was good to see Geoff over here in Adelaide. He did the Three Brothers Arms, which is a bit of a spiritual home of mine, on the Friday night, and last night was down at the Murray Delta Juke Joint, like I said, and which is just an amazing venue. It's down at Goolwa, which is about an hour south of Adelaide, along the coast. But yeah, it's a purpose-built venue, fantastic stage, great acoustics, a really cool vibe. It's in a bit of a weird place, I guess, but it's full credit that the fellas down there managed to get people in there, just because the quality of the entertainment they put in and the quality of the place it's fantastic. The gig was really good. I mean, fantastic. Geoff Achison is an amazing guitar player, and the Beinkes, they're rock solid, and they did their own set with a few of their own songs and a few covers, and then Geoff came on stage and he did a couple of songs with them, and then he did a couple of his own acoustics, and then they finished the sort of last third of the show as his backing band, which was very cool. I know Geoff's probably quite used to slotting in different bands behind him as he was telling the stories about travelling around the southern states of the US and things like that, and here in Australia probably too. But those guys, they put on just a brilliant show last night. It was entertaining from the beginning to the end. There was some pretty respectable musicians in the audience, and everyone agreed it was an amazing show. So yeah, full credit to Geoff Achison and full credit to the Murray Delta Juke Joint and the Beinke Brothers. All right, I guess the other thing I wanted to talk about was a bit to do with music, AI in music. That whole thing about miming, which has been around since the 50s, probably earlier, to my knowledge. But I think I just saw Rick Beato do a YouTube video on this subject. He's had a guitar player come in who's apparently, he found out after the fact that, the fellas plagiarised some of Rick's other friends' music, and that he hasn't really been up to the standard to be able to reproduce a lot of the stuff that he's presented or when he was put on the spot. So look, I'm not going to go into that. I haven't really listened to that stuff, so I can't really criticise too much about it. The whole Milli Vanilli thing, that's another kettle of fish as well. I did an interview a couple of weeks ago with a magazine, and the fella there, Richard, was really keen to talk about the influence of AI in music, and the effects long term, the effects now, all of that sort of stuff. I really basically broke it into two sort of aspects. One is the AI as a musical tool, which is to say, when you're trying to work out stuff and you need to, you may have a phone in the rehearsal studio and you've come up with this great idea as a band, and the sound recording is not great. It's really messy. There are tools today that you can use that quite effectively will remove, for instance, in my case, the bass line out of that. So I can remember what the hell it was I did. Sometimes a lot of the great ideas you come up with are just fleeting, and there's no way you're going to pull them out again without being able to listen back to them. So that's really good. AI in that usage is fairly simple. And I mean, you're not relying on it for recording quality. You're simply trying to extract enough sound out of it to be able to replicate it yourself, so you can go and re-record that line. That, I think, is a fantastic tool. Back in the 80s when I first started doing this, we had our turntables and we would lift the needle up and put it back and play the next bit and play it again and do all that stuff. And then tapes made it a bit easier, but it was still, really, really difficult. Whereas now, you can literally extract most of the bass, at least a clear enough version of the bass for me to be able to go, oh yeah, okay, that's what I'm doing. I guess the other aspect to the AI thing is where they're using AI, they're telling AI to write songs for them by putting in enough. I want it to have a bit of this, I want it to have a bit of that, and then write me a song, and there is also the stuff that Spotify have been doing. That if anyone who listens to Ted Gioia, who I can really recommend on Substack, Ted Gioia has done an expose on the padding, for want of a better description, that Spotify do, whereby they'll have the same song with a chord here or a chord there altered, and they'll have however many tens of or hundreds of the same basic song under different names, and of course they go into playlists. The money for being played goes back to them, of course, via whatever entity that they've decided to release it under. And of course that just means that these playlists are sort of stacked then with more Spotify produced songs and less original artists. Anyway, look, like I say, I won't go into that further. If you're really interested, check out Ted Gioia, and you just do a search for, Spotify and Ted Gioia, and I'm pretty sure you'll find it pretty quick. It's unfortunate, it's disappointing, and but it's very interesting at the same time. As far as the whole thing of original music, real music goes, I tend to agree with what Rick Beato said. The bands have been miming their songs on, Countdown and lots of shows for many, many, many years. And there's, famous incidences of, Cold Chisel when they, the TV Week awards, when they decided that no, they demanded to play live. That's classic stuff. If you haven't looked into that, look it up, it's great. But anyway, what I guess I'd like to talk about there is all we can really do as musicians is remember why we do this. And for us at 63 Deluxe, we do this purely because we just love to create new music, new sounds, experiment. We're like kids with Lego bricks, really. Which is probably the most accurate description I can give you. We throw ideas around, we look at it, we go, this sounds good, this doesn't sound good, this sounds better, what if we try this, here, stack these bricks up here. It literally is that simplistic, at that level. Once you go to record a song, of course, you've got production interests that come into it. That's slightly different, but where you've got technical aspects that need to be taken into consideration as well. But in the basic building bricks part of it all, it's just throwing ideas around and working out what fits, what feels good, what creates tension, what creates a mood, all of those sort of things, and just going at the end of the day with what you feel sounds good. And we really, really do get a kick out of that. So no matter what AI does, and no matter how many songs are out there created by AI or semi-created by AI, we're still going to keep doing what we do purely just because it's what we most enjoy doing. We had an interesting thing. I mean, look, most albums, traditionally the layering of songs, and we did this on our first album, which is just the self-titled 63 Deluxe. And, we did that in the traditional manner where Jack put the drum tracks down. We were playing along on dummy tracks so that he had something to play to. And that's more to keep the mood than anything. And then, I came along, I put the bass line down, still listening to Anthony's dummy guitar track, which he then, after I'd finished, went along and recorded over later. And so on to the vocals. Now, that album was done in that traditional manner, and it was done, the strings on it, Glenn Lehman playing keyboards, extra harmonies, all the extra stuff that you can do in a studio. We did. So it's still real, like we haven't faked anything. There's no artificial playing on this album. But in light of that, when we had the opportunity to record the songs that we had played in Memphis, when we went up to Nashville to record, we had to make the decision, were we going to do the same sort of thing? So we were going to track it, which just means, we were going to record the drums, the bass, guitar and the vocals, and then bring it back to Adelaide. And we had to make the decision, do we give it the same treatment as an album, whereby we introduce strings, horns, whatever, and build the production up? Or do we take the opportunity, having these songs so polished and honed, ready for the International Blues Challenge in Memphis, do we take the chance and just go up and record these tracks and try and keep them as real and honest and raw as we can? And that was the decision. And I had one interviewer sort of challenge me on it, saying, surely that you just did that because it was a cheaper option. You didn't have the extra time, you didn't have the extra money. And I said to him, well, no, not really, because once we had the bed tracks, all of the rest of that stuff we could have done back here in Adelaide at our own time, in our own time. Anthony does most of these things himself, and it's more his time than any financial costs. So no, we could have done the same thing as we did on the original album, but we've opted to keep this EP, which I'll show you here. It's our new EP, Memphis to Nashville. It's 5 songs recorded with the wonderful Liz Shaw in Toy Box Studios in Nashville. And like I say, we opted actually just to get the best quality recording of just the 3 of us. Now, obviously the vocals were done later, and the harmonies, but the playing is us all together. Most of those songs are actually all from the same take. There is one song on there, the song that Jack wrote and sings, called Blues Personality, which the bass playing on it is very, very expressive and all over the place. And I really hadn't quite had the time to nail down exactly a crafted line, so I did a lot of jamming on it. And with that one, we took the option. We went in knowing that this would be the case, and that one there, I actually did about 6 or 7 extra takes, and we've grabbed the best bits. And in the old days, they would have spliced the tape, but in this days with digital, you can just sort of cut and paste and create a whole line out of the parts. And really, that's the finished product is still very, very close to what I play live. We've just taken the opportunity to to grab the best bits, because that recording's, it's people are going to be able to play that in 10, 20, 30 years, whatever. So it needs to be as good as we can get it. It's still pretty loose in a kind of funny way, getting back to the AI and the perfection thing. I actually kind of like that. There's no real mistakes in it, playing wise, but there's definitely some sort of, loosey goosey stuff. But when I listen to it, I actually enjoy it. It's kind of fun. And that is the difference between what AI does and what we do at the end of the day. And that's why I'm quite happy to leave it like that. And that's why we were actually really proud of this EP, because what you're hearing is literally us playing. And, I know when you listen to, guys like, Jeff Lang or Geoff Achison, these guys do the same. Nathan Beretta, you listen to these guys and they just pull this stuff out, and it's got a vibe to it. It's got an energy to it. And I'm not quite convinced yet, and I'm not quite convinced that I ever will be convinced that AI will be able to capture that. It may be able to copy it from other people, and even that may be able to trick a lot of listeners. But at the end of the day, I'm the one who's got to record my stuff. I'm the one who's got to listen to it, and I'm the one who's got to talk to people who listen to it. So it's a bit of a rambling carry on there, but that's kind of my own insight into AI and how it's affecting us currently. There are much bigger aspects to this, and it will continue to become more confusing and more challenging. But to try and boil it down to its basics, where we're at with it at the moment, that's where I sit with it anyway. So anyway, I hope I haven't been too much of a wafflehead, but yeah, there it is. That's my first YouTube rant. If there's any of the things that I've mentioned here that you'd like to comment on, just comment and put your comments down below, and if I can, I'll respond to them. And yeah, we'll see you next time.